Welcome to week 25 of my self-important Magic the Gathering show. This week is Temur, the color combination of blue, green, and red. This is also the last 3-color week. Next week we'll be starting 4 colors. Ooh, we are in the home stretch now. I think I mentioned last week that Temur was a color combination that I liked, but also didn't see a whole lot of commanders I felt like building for. So we'll see how that goes today. As you can see, I have a bunch of tabs open, but one of these tabs just has all of the Temur commanders listed, and 2 of these are partner commander decks. That's the kind of week we are on. So let's get started with our first one. We have Eshki, Temur's Roar, who is full Temur for a 2/2 human warrior. It says whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, you get to draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent. I like that. That sounds fun. Then we have our evasion, because if she's going to get stronger, we want her to attack for commander damage. So we got Psychic Paper. This first part doesn't matter, because I don't see... because since it's legendary, we don't want to name. Well, no, the other things won't be legendary. Like this whole first paragraph doesn't matter to this deck. But a creature has Ward 1 and can't be blocked. And it has an additional creature type, so we could. I guess if we wanted to, if it mattered, if it had a creature type. Cost 2, equip 2. Prowler's Helmet can't be blocked except by walls. Right. It would be dumb if it can't be blocked by walls, because that would be pointless. That costs 2, equip 2. Then we have the Brotherhood Regalia, which is Ward 2, also an assassin, and can't be blocked. The assassin part won't matter, but it's equipped legendary creature 1. That's the important part. And over here we have the good old Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves, Mithril Coat for indestructibility, and then Whisper Silk Cloak for additional can't be blocked and Shroud. We have 5 pieces of Mass Disruption, 2 for creatures. That's the Mizium Mortars and Delayed Blast Fireball. We have Vandal Blast and Shattering Spree to clear out artifacts, and then Pest Infestation to also get enchantments, and then also create pests. That largely doesn't matter, but hey, little 1/1 Dorcases don't hurt usually, unless someone plays, what is it, Rakdos Charm, that makes all creatures deal damage to their controllers. And then in our lands we have Boseiju that can get rid of artifacts, enchantments, and non-basic lands just in case. Then we have our targeted disruption over here. Pongify, Rapid Hybridization, Reality Shift, Wild Magic Surge, and Beast Within all destroy stuff but give your opponent stuff. Not ideal, but hey. And then Destructive Revelry, which is just a disenchant that also deals damage to the thing's controller. We technically have removal in the command zone. Also draw in the command zone, if that matters. And that was it. Yep. Oh, we have our 14 pieces of ramp, because we have all of the artifact ramp that does colors. And then 3 pieces of sorcery ramp to grab lands. And I also see Herd Heirloom in here. It adds 1 mana of any color just for creature spells, but it also has a piece of card draw, because it can give a creature power 4 or greater trample, and you draw a card when it deals damage to a player. Anything else hiding in there that I don't remember? Nope. Okay. And then nothing else? Okay. So, we're going to grab another piece of card draw. Great Henge. The Great Henge. Another thing to go, oh yeah, we're probably proxying a lot of these cards. I am 100% pro proxy. Like, if you, Like, you can probably buy psychic paper for $35, but considering where it came from, it might be hard to find even if its value isn't all that great. Which sounds weird, but hey, whatever. When we go in here, I'm going to go to EDH Rec really quick. Let's see what kind of enchantments. Oh, Overlord of the Hauntwoods will give us more lands, and it also is a creature with power 6 or greater. Xenagos will make our creatures stronger, and it's also a creature spell with power 6 or greater. See, the nice thing about both of these is that they're still creature spells on the stack, so they count for our commander's ability, even if they come into play and are not. Because it's a creature spell, it only becomes a not creature when it gets those impending counters. And Xenagos is a creature spell, and even if it's not a creature, if you don't have the appropriate devotion. We're now going to look at artifacts. We're dodging Roaming Throne for this one, and I don't think we need Felwar Stone, even though we're a 3-color deck, and I think I put that in a couple of them before. So let's go to creatures. Oh, we definitely want Birds of Paradise, because it's just more ramp. Temur Battle Crier. During your turn, spells you cast. During your turn, all spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. We're trying to have a lot of those. This lets us cast creatures with power 4 or greater from the top of our library. That's worth it. Terror of the Peak does damage. That's always nice. Delighted Halfling. That's kind of part and parcel with the Birds of Paradise. Even though it's colored mana can only be used on legendary stuff, we're probably going to have a lot of them. Maelstrom Wanderer has double Cascade. That's probably worth this 8, and its power is 7. This thing lets us bounce our opponent's stuff, so we're going to do that. Goreclaw makes our creatures with power 4 or greater cost 2 less. And then when it attacks, it buffs all of our other creatures and gives them trample, so that's worth it. Apex Devastator cascades 4 times. Rhythmacies, even though it's a land in play, is a 4 mana 12/12 on the stack, so that triggers our commander. We're not in the neighborhood of stealing stuff. Galta costs as low as 2, depending on when we're playing it, so that's cool. Because it X less the cast, which is total power. This one draws a card when another creature with power 4 or greater when another creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under control, and you can plot it because it also rebates you 1 mana, so you can pay for it ahead of time. Uro does broken Uro things. You sacrifice it right away unless you did this escape thing, which is exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. But when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, draw a card, and then get to put a land into play. You know, normal Simic stuff that isn't totally garbage and OP and makes the color combination boring. So we'll put that in. Dreamtide Whale is 3 for a 7/5 with Vanishing. That also disincentivizes our opponents from casting more than 1 spell a turn. It incentivizes us casting more than 1 spell a turn, so we'll see how that works. Beast Whispered, a creature itself, even if it's not that strong, that draws us cards for casting creature spells. I don't think we're going to have that many dragons. Same thing with that one. I don't think the Anarchomancer is that necessary. No. Oh, the Quake Mole that can get that either we hit for 8 or we get more combat steps. Oh, Animar. Because it's basically our commander but kind of worse. because we don't get to draw cards or deal damage, but it makes our other creatures cheaper as this thing gets bigger. Surak Dragonclaw gives our other creatures trample, and even though my play group doesn't use counter spells, yours might, so this whole can't be countered stuff might be important. Old Gnawbone getting us treasures, and also just being a big guy. Girl, sorry. Old Gnawbone is a lady. I apologize. And then here's a little trick I learned. We go over here. Actually, wait, maybe if we go here, it'll be faster. Then we go to EDH Rec. And then we go to Creatures. It clears out the ones that we grabbed, and now we have some new ones. Vaultborn Tyrant gives us a life and draws a card. And also it copies itself if it dies. So that's neat. Elder Gargaroth, I'm a fan of that. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This itself has haste. And then you can pay 2 and some combination of blue and green to draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. And since that's not as a sorcery, you can do that on your opponent's turn. We are dodging the chair, I think I said that before. Temur Sabertooth can return another creature to your hand so you can cast it again. This Anthem's trample and haste onto your creature with power 4 or greater, so that's a little bit extra of that particular thing. This is also Anthemine Trample and also get haste and +1/+1 counters. What does that put us at? Oh, that puts us at 98. I think the point that I was trying to make, oh wow, 25 technical pieces of, or 23 technical pieces of ramp, even though I definitely won't count Old Gnawbone as ramp per se, just because it costs 8 or 7, sorry, I can count. And then Arithmeses down, some people would say once you get into 4, that's not really ramp. Some people might even argue that 3 isn't ramp, but let's see how many creatures we have. We have 27 creatures. I think that's like a good number of creatures. Maybe 2 more creatures, just because like at least 2 of them won't be coming out until our commander comes out. I mean, technically, I mean, you could also say 3, because maybe, like, no, would you, I guess maybe I would cast Anarmar first if I drew it early enough. Like, you could really go either way. You'd have to vibe check the table. And in fact, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it an alt commander. So when we go back to categories, so like you can either lead with Eshki, or if you kind of want to hide Eshki, even though we don't have any way to get Eshki back if anything happens to Eshki, you can put Animar up front instead and play Secret Commander. Or if you're just trying to power, it's an easy power down to your deck, isn't it? because this is card draw and extra damage theoretically, where this is just more ramp. I don't know if I said it out loud yet, but I was trying to prove a point that there's nothing wrong with using EDH Rec, but you really have to actually look through it to see if the cards fit what you want the deck to do, and not just like use whatever's at the top. Because if I use what was ever at the top, like I don't agree with Defiler of Vigor because I'm not running enough green. I don't agree with the Tali because I don't do the Theft. I understand Chandra's Incinerator. I really do, but I think I want 2 more blue creatures. Isn't Homebreaker Horror a game changer? I'm gonna add it to the deck really quick. No, it is not. That's wild. Where are you, Holt? Where did you end up? Galta ended up in Evasion. That's funny. Hullbreaker Horror. Returning a spell you don't control to its owner's hand feels like a counter spell. So just on kind of a principle, I'm not going to run it. Like, bouncing is fine. I think I've said that plenty of times. And let's see the color breakdown of the deck, because I think, yeah, on principle, I want to add more blue. This deck is mostly green, I see. That's just kind of a thing that happens. So for the last 2 cards, we're going to go T creature power greater than or equal to 6 order CMC. Oh yeah, the Phyrexian Dreadnought. This exists. And this is... I'm surprised EDH Rec didn't suggest it, but I can see why people wouldn't... Like, people who generally don't proxy would not want to put this in their deck because it's $230. Sorry, I got thirsty. But proxy it. And in this deck, with your commander out, it becomes Lightning Bolt with upside. And if Animar's out, it's free because it's colorless. Ha! Because look at it. You pay 1. Let's say it's turn whatever, and the only other creature you have out is Eshki. Eshki doesn't have any +1/+1 counters on it. You cast Phyrexian Dreadnought. Eshki gets a +1/+1 counter on it. You draw a card because this thing's power is 4 or greater. And then Eshki does 3 damage to, I believe it was any target. Each opponent. So, yeah, I called it Lightning Bolt with upsides, but it's 3 Lightning Bolts that you can't target the same thing with, that all go face automatically. And who cares if you don't keep it? It was 1 mana. 1 mana that you got your cast triggers on. That's all you needed it for. I wouldn't even count this as a creature in the deck. Ball Lightning, Force of Savagery, and Groundbreaker all funny for the same reason. But they cost 3 times as much without Animar out. I think that's its name, right? Animar. Yep. I don't know, for some reason my brain suddenly thought that was a different creature. Uh, like, with Phyrexian Dreadnought now as our base, looking for our final card, something has to be, like, really good. So, it has to stick around, so it can't be these things, even though Force of Savagery I really want to put into a deck at some point. Like, all of this stuff, not good enough anymore. Mind Skinner, no. It costs 3, and all this turns into mill nonsense. Oh, Arithmeses. No, we already have that in here. Where was that hiding? I don't remember adding it. And the funny thing is that I probably did talk about how it was a creature spell and it doesn't matter that it's a land. Oh. It is almost 11 p.m. and it is still hot. I have a door open, fans on, and my brain is still dead. So we're basically looking for something that is worth the trouble. Impetuous Devils is a kind of worse ball lightning. It just makes your opponents block. Huh. Pangosaur is mildly interesting. Anything that sends itself back to your hand so you can cast it again is interesting. I like the idea of Pangosaur. We'll see what else we have to look at, but Reservoir Kraken gives us unblockable 1/1s. Like, that's not part of our plan, but I do like that it's blue. I like Thassa Deep Dwelling if we had something that cared about enters the battlefield, but I don't think we have enough for that to matter. I think we're going to go with the Reservoir Kraken, because we either have a 6/6 Trample Ward 2, or we start generating unblockable fish, which is at least fun. And while this didn't take as long as I would have liked it to, I like the deck that we ended up with, because we have a lot of things in here that do haste. We have a lot of things in here that give trample. We have mostly creatures that have power 4 or greater, if not 6 or greater. That's one way to describe the Phyrexian Dreadnought, I guess. Is this the best version of this deck? Obviously not. But I like. Lol. This is under proliferate. Oh, I guess it does proliferate. Oh, that. You know what? I forgot proliferate, so that's actually super good. Since that proliferates here, that proliferates here, that proliferates this. How many creatures total did we end up with? 29. 27 of them actually likely to come out after our commander, since these two definitely would want to come out before. Like, even if we drew Phyrexian Dreadnought early, obviously we'd just hold on to it until our commander was out. Honestly, the Phyrexian Dreadnought is the funniest thing in here. Because if you draw it early, it's lightning bolt to all your opponents. You draw it later, it's whatever you've been doing that game. And again, it's 1 mana or less depending on if Animar's been out. That's... Or... Ow! Monkey... Fighting... Mondays to Friday. Ow. Tried to change how I was sitting and my feet slipped. And then I didn't so much kick as just kind of ran my foot into something. Anyway, yeah, no, man. This will go into Untitled. I don't know what to call this. Wow, I'm gonna save changes for now, and then I think I'm just gonna call this, yeah, I'm just gonna call this Temur's Roar. Thank you, Eshki, for your title being, so what's win con? Cast creatures, draw cards, do damage. There we go. Cast creatures, draw cards, do damage. Save. Oh wow, I hit my foot so hard it scratched it. That's gonna be itchy. Oh well. Thankfully I keep water by my desk, like water and not water with stuff in it, so I can wash my foot real quick. We're gonna close this. We're gonna go to Temur Park, which has most of the ramp. I don't have the herd heirloom in this deck. Hold on. I have water and napkins. Not that I expect to hurt myself at my desk, but I get thirsty, and also I have sinus stuff, so you know I'm usually blowing my nose. But water and napkins are multi-purpose. Not bleeding, just itchy. So, cleaning the area. There we go. I also keep a trash bin nearby. Ugh. So, what do we got? We got Owen Grady, Raptor trainer, who is 1 green-red for a 3/2 human soldier scientist, who has partner with Blue Royal, well, maybe Royal, you know, you don't know. Loyal Raptor. And then you can tap Owen Grady to put your choice of a menace, trample, reach, or haste counter on target dinosaur. So this is unfortunately dinosaur tribal, probably in Temur colors, as opposed to Naya, since Naya is where the dinosaurs normally hang out. So we're trading white for blue. And then we have Blue Loyal Raptor, who is 2 a green and a blue for a 5/4 dinosaur that partners with Owen Grady Raptor Trainer. For each kind of counter on Blue Loyal Raptor, each other dinosaur you control enters the battlefield with a counter of that kind on it. So basically, you train Blue with Owen, and then Blue teaches your other dinosaurs. That's neat. And then we have the exact same Master Disruption and exact same base removal from the other deck. If I find more, I'll put more. And then yeah, the ramp package, and then the same lands. So and we're at 63. So we're probably going to want to put other stuff in here, but I'm going to do this the hard way. I have a message sitting here. Oh. That is not important to anything I'm doing, and it was from someone I wasn't expecting to message me. Sharing a private joke. So we're going to go T dinosaur or O dinosaur, and then as usual order by CMC, because I like seeing the cheap stuff before the expensive stuff. Oh yeah, the Ridgeline turns into a dinosaur. That's funny. Allosaurus Shepherd turns your elves into dinosaurs. Commune with Dinosaurs is just a cheap card to get dinosaurs or lands into your hand. Dino DNA. We might put more Jurassic Park cards in this deck. That makes sense. So it has Imprint. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Activate only as a sorcery. Then you can pay 6 and create a token that's a copy of target creature card exiled with Dino DNA, except it's a 6/6 Greek dinosaur with trample. Activate only as a sorcery. Yeah. One, it's graveyard hate. Even if it's slow graveyard hate. And sorcery speed graveyard hate, so you can't do it in response to someone reanimating something, so you kind of have to know in advance whether you want to get rid of it. But once you get higher up on the mana value, you can start making 6/6s. As I mentioned, it's hot, so I'm just staying hydrated. Ixali's Lorekeeper is a mana dork for dinosaur spells. I think that plus birds of, because dinosaurs are expensive, so we want the birds of paradise, and we want the delighted halfling, since that actually matters for our, since we have 2 commanders. Relic's Roar. Ah, that turns artifacts into dinosaurs. That's interesting. Or creatures. Oh, well, interesting. Triumphant Chomp. Deals 2 damage to target creature or the power of your strongest dinosaur. That's interesting. Amped Raptor is energy. We're just going to go back. Belligerent Yearling becomes the base power of a different dinosaur when that dinosaur comes into play after this, and that's always nice. Burning Sun Cavalry just gets slightly bigger if you control a dinosaur. Drover the Mighty gets stronger if you control a dinosaur, and also adds mana for dinosaurs, but I don't care about that because it costs 2. Where for a slightly more significant downside that is relevant, that doesn't matter for this deck, we'll have the Lord Keeper. Dragonautics Engineer is a goblin artificer that makes dinosaurs that are also dragons. That's interesting. This turns lands into dinosaurs. Oh, this is the dinosaur egg where you discover. Cherished Hatchling. Oh, that's interesting. So, when it dies, you may cast dinosaur spells as though they have flash, and then they enter and fight stuff. That's interesting. Don't know if I'm doing that, but that's interesting. Drowsing Pteranodon has Defender unless you control another dinosaur with power 4 or greater. Oh no, it doesn't have to be another. That's right. So if you make this thing bigger, it wakes up. Forbidden Friendship makes a human into a dinosaur. Intrepid Paleontologist. Can resurrect dinosaurs once. The problem is that if you use this, they can remove this, and then you can't cast the spell. When this thing is dealt damage, you get a 3/3 dinosaur with trample. This makes our dinosaurs cheaper to cast, and can also give 1 haste. This is enrage nonsense. When this thing comes into play, you can pay 2 to have a different dinosaur. Oh, and it's deal damage, so it's not even fight. That does make it better. Sealy's Lattice. Sun-colored Raptor can make itself bigger. Oh, Thunderherd Migration only searches for basics, but that does make it a second rampant growth. Control a dinosaur. This is just a cheap dinosaur. I'm not too interested in that. Dromasaur. Dinosaur Stampede. Death Mist Raptor is a dinosaur beast. Oh, whenever a permanent you control is turn... Oh, it's turn face up. That was interesting until I saw that that has to deal with morph. Whenever Death Gorge Scavenger enters the battlefield or attacked, you may exile a card from a graveyard. If you exiled a creature card, you get 2 life. If you exile a non-creature card, this thing becomes a 4/3. I do like the Graveyard Hate. This, you gain 3 life if you have other dinosaurs. I only like this because of the Graveyard Hate. Fountain of Ichor can become a dinosaur. This is a vanilla dinosaur. That's Enrage. Players can't gain life. Hunting Velociraptor has Prowl, or does Prowl. You may cast a spell for its Prowl cost if you dealt damage to a player this turn with a creature of any of its creature types. Oh, okay. So this makes dinosaurs cheaper, if you dealt damage to players with dinosaurs. That is a complicated ability. Well, it's not complicated, it just head hurting. Oh, Pugnacious Hammer Skull is just a 6/6 for 3. That's fun. That has no downside because we have dinosaurs. Poetic Ingenuity gives us treasures for casting dinosaurs. And we do have a non-zero number of artifact spells in this deck. Oh, this is for dinosaurs attacking. Never mind. And then this part is... And it's that many treasure tokens for dinosaurs attacking. That's, I guess, better than what I thought it was. Maybe not. Whatever. Reptilian Reflection turns into a dinosaur. Oh, this is the dinosaur anthem. I'm actually going to dodge anything with Enrage. Players can't gain life. And then you get damage for casting stuff. That's rolling dice. That can't be blocked by dinosaurs. That's funny. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. Like, that's not guaranteed, but that's funny and could activate more than once. Savage Stomp is a removal spell. That a fight type removal spell. Scale Storm Summoner makes dinosaurs if you control big creatures. Topiary Stomper searches for basic lands. Thrashing Brontoton can turn itself into a disenchant. Oh, Sunfrill Imitator is interesting because it can turn itself into another dinosaur, but it keeps its own name, so you don't have to worry about legendary stuff. I don't know how much that'll matter. Oh, and it only turns itself into other dinosaurs, but that's interesting. That's going in. First Strike Echo, which means you have to pay this twice, but it has haste. That's absolute garbage. It was actually probably neat in limited. You know, any sort of draft or sealed environment, but I don't see it being good and constructed. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, this does 4 damage to them, so that's punishing. We just have to remember to play at sorcery speed ourselves. Tranquil Thrillback. Basically has Spree, if you want to think about it that way. Or Escalade, I think, is another kind of thing. Because you can pay green up to 3 times to disenchant, exile a graveyard, and pay 4 life. That's interesting. I don't know if we're going to do that, but... and then Wayward Swordtooth gets us extra lands, but it can't attack or block unless we have the City's Blessing. Do we want to, for flavor, add Welcome to Jurassic Park? Let's read what it does. For each opponent, up to 1 target non-creature artifact they control becomes a wall with that has defender because they're walls. As long as you control the saga. Okay. And then you create a 3/3 dinosaur with trample that has haste until end of turn. And then you destroy all walls and exile this saga, and it returns to the battlefield under your control. Okay, so if they don't get rid of it, you have a delayed disenchant for non-creature artifacts. And this becomes the Jurassic Park legendary land that says each dinosaur card in your graveyard has Escape, which is its mana value plus 3 other cards. And then it is also a Gaia's Crater full dinosaurs. I like that. I like that for flavor and because it's not terrible. Bond and Horncrest. Can't attack or block alone. Forerunner of the Empire cares. Oh, it puts a dinosaur from your library on top of your library. And then it deals damage. This nonsense. Whenever a dinosaur you control deals combat damage to player, you may you draw a card. That's good. Or you can trample. There's like one or two enrages that I would put in here, but I'd have to see them and remember they exist. Fungusaur, classic dinosaur. It's Fungus Dinosaur is its oracle. Grazing Whiptail has reach. Hulking Raptor. Oh yeah, that is has War 2 and then also gets us double green in our first main phase. This can only be cast by basic land mana. That is not helpful. Calamax the Stormsire. Whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, and then if this thing is tapped, you can copy it. We have like 6 instants in the deck because that's how many removal spells I have. So, yeah. Ornery Diplosaur has Death Touch. And it gets bigger if you have a big creature. Needletooth Raptor is kind of one of those things I'd be tempted, but it's only a 2/2. Oh, this makes... But see, but it costs 4. At this point, I don't care. Momentum Rumbler gets a first strike counter. And then if it has first strike, it gains double strike. Oh, there's the Pangosaur, but that is much less impressive in this deck. The Axejaw explores, which means you look at the top card of your library, put it in your hand if it's a land, or this thing gets a +1/+1 counter if it's not a land. This thing's just an illusion, so it has the illusion effects. Pyroceratops, Raging Regisaur. Saurian Symbiote. Sapperlings. This is the one. Whenever it's dealt damage, draw a card, that's fine. That's the Enrage that goes in the deck. Double Strike, Trample Haste, and Expensive Fire Breathing. And also Planeswalker Hate. And Battle Hate. Savage Order. Oh, it's you have to sacrifice a creature with power 4 or greater to tutor a dinosaur directly into play. And that new dinosaur gets indestructible until your next turn. So they have to use premium removal on it. Sure. As long as we don't have too many tutors, non-land tutors in the deck, I think we'll be fine. Then we have Sawhorn Nemesis. If a source would deal damage to the chosen player or opponent they control, it deals double. So this is a targeted Fiery Emancipation. Oh wait, no, that's triple. One of the doublers that I don't remember the names of as easily. Whenever you discard a creature card, we're not doing a whole lot of discarding. That has kicker for fighting. Oh, Bonehorde Dracosaur. That's technically card draw. Sure. Because it makes dinosaurs or treasure. That's fine. That's that thing. That thing attacks battles. This proliferates, which doesn't really affect us. Trample haste. Doubles damage to players. That's just fine, because it also has trample. So it makes them seriously block and not just... And I don't care, Gigantosaurus, that activates the neurons. Oh, the Apex of Wishes is a dinosaur. Oh yeah, well duh. When this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until exile a non-land permanent card, and it goes on the battlefield or in your hand. It does. So, I think that counts as discover, but without a limitation. I'm trying to keyword it to make it easy to understand. But it mutates for one more than its normal cost. But it's also just a 6/6 flying trample for 5, so I think that's worth it. The Macrosage can be your companion if all of your cards are converted mana cost 3 or greater. If all your non-lands. But we have ramp. No. Oh, this has Super Menace. 3 or more creatures instead of 2 or more. Oh, this is the thing that creates more dinosaurs when your stuff with trample deals up damage to opponents. I like that. 2 damage to each opponent. Other dinosaurs have haste. That's kind of just important. And then it makes eggs, and then if you somehow get more eggs, you can sacrifice. You have to sacrifice an egg to make a 3/3. We're not going to add more eggs to the deck, but considering egg is a creature type, if we had changelings in the deck, those would count, and that's funny. Part of me is sad that we're doing a typal deck, and I said I didn't want to do those for my show, but our first deck wasn't typal, and our next deck won't be typal, so I feel like that balances it out. I think back when I said that was before I realized that I'd get good fast enough at this that I'd be building more than one deck an episode. This gives our other dinosaurs haste, and it makes another dinosaur. Oh, this has Myriad that disenchants on combat damage to a player. There we go. Myriad is a good way to get your opponents mad at you, but all 3 of them at the same time. So like you can just not attack with this if you're in that kind of game where you're worried about that. Oh, this can block 2 things. That's neat. Oh, I like this. There's a dragon version of this that I like putting in dragon decks. Whenever a dinosaur you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dinosaur. So, worst comes to worst, deal damage to face. Haste, Toxic 3, we're not messing with that. Oh, the World Tyrant. A worse Gigantosaur that can be your commander. Has haste as long as you control another dinosaur. Oh, Zalortha Strength Incarnate. That's lethal damage to creatures you control is determined by power rather than toughness. That is kind of I would have to look at every single other creature in the deck to see if that really mattered. So that's cool. And if we go into card details and go to all printings, we'll see that this was Godzilla King of the Monsters when it first came out, and it took a while for them to actually print this. What is that, Commander Masters? Did that come out before? No, if it's by edition date, then that means this is the newest one. Anyway, it's not going in the deck, but it's just a neat card. You gain 3 life, and it has force cycling. If force comes the worst. This thing has creature lightning bolt and face lightning bolt when it enters. This is trample hexproof. This steals stuff, so of course we're gonna ignore it. This can draw some number of cards. Hopefully it doesn't draw too many cards. Colossal Dreadmaw. Look at that. Same row power creep. And the floor, and it says other, so the floor is 0 cards. The floor is still Colossal Dreadmaw. Beasts can't block, and what's funny is that it's actually is it a beast dinosaur? It is a beast dinosaur. Let's say beasts can't block. Gains trample if you sacrifice an artifact. Kola and Yadaro. When it enters, you choose one. It gets trample and haste, or it fights. But you can also just discard it to disenchant, but shuffle it into your library and draw a card. That's neat, but I don't know if I want to do it. Gains 4 life. Stickers. We are not messing with stickers. Doesn't do anything. Oh, another thing from Jurassic Park. It devours. So you can sacrifice any number of creatures, and it gets 3+1/+1 counters for each creature that you sacrificed. And then when it attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to another creature, and excess damage goes to that controller's face. So that's actually useful. And you can turn tiny nonsense that you don't need anymore into more power for this thing. This thing makes you the Monarch and ramps you while you're the Monarch. Introducing the Monarch is always good, and everybody loves it. Notice how there's very little blue in this deck because there's not a whole lot of blue dinosaurs. Wingfold Terron, Silent P, as far as I know. And then it enters with flying or hexproof. The Trumpeting Carnosaur discovers 5. I actually think we're going to put it in this one where we didn't put it in the last one. When Sinuous Benthisar enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library. And caves. We're not dealing with caves, so... Oh, that has 1 cascade. As a historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur in addition to its other types. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. I like that because it turns our commanders are going to come out early, but if they go away, they're going to come back as 7/7s. And then if we close down this, I don't know if any of our lands... Oh, we have... Is this a legendary land? If we this Boseiju can be a 7/7 dinosaur land. I don't know if any of our other lands are legendary. I don't think they are. Where did displaced dinosaurs go? Yep, it just says historic permanent and enters the battlefield. And then if any of our other creatures are... Oh, this thing gets a slight power boost. And then if we draw any of these pieces of ramp plate, any of these rampy artifacts, they are also 7/7 dinosaurs. Oh, this is also a 7/7 dinosaur on both sides. This is, they're like sack outlet. Someone was being mean to this guy. Because it doesn't have anything about sacking on it. But someone's like, no, you play this early and you sack it later. Not that it's a 6/6 early. Dino DNA is not an egg. I was just kind of checking. Hold on. Okay, these eggs are not artifacts. I was just kind of checking that because that would have been funny. Anyway, we're probably near the bottom. This also steals stuff, so we're going to ignore it. Oh, 2 more blue things. Oh, this has island cycling, and remember, that's not for basics. It also has Ward 3. I think that's worth it. And then Nezahal the Primal Tide can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you get to draw a card. And then you can discard 3 cards to blink it. Just in case that ever becomes important. This gives you 2 creatures for the price of 1. And also has forest cycling. But it's in a color I don't care about. Because, like, again, we're not worried about blue. This has trample and gets bigger for the number of lands you control. That's never bad. When this thing's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent. We're not going to worry about this. Oh, this thing cycles, and you shuffle it into your library, but you also to draw, you know. And then if you do it 4 more times, you just goes into the graveyard. But, you know, if you draw it early, you can just pay 2 to get a different card. Basically, it becomes a clue. Whenever that or another creature, you gain life equal to its toughness. That's kind of not great for 7. Gain 3 life and draw a card. That's fine, even if it costs 7. Trample, ward, for haste, toxic 4. I'm just dodging the toxic. Oh, this is the worst version of that other thing because it's bigger, but it creates dinosaurs. Ancient Brontodon. What about this blue one? It has Emerge, so you can sacrifice a creature to lower its casting cost. Oh, and it bounces all non-dinosaurs. Ding. We're not doing Polyraptor. We're not doing this Galta, because I don't trust myself. We're doing this Galta, though. The Skullspore Nexus, that turns your dinosaurs that die, that aren't already tokens, into dinosaur tokens with the same power and toughness. And it also can do double a single creature's power and toughness. Oh, no, just their power until end of turn. Ding. Oh, base power and toughness equal to that. Oh, total power, yeah. So total power of that creature. Oh, of those creatures. That's right. This makes one big thing. This thing tramples over planeswalkers, which is hilarious, but I don't think we're going to do that. The Tarask is funny. Oh, that thing with Cascade multiple times isn't a dinosaur. That's mildly interesting. I never did bother to see its creature type. So we're going to scroll all the way back to the top. We are going to close this. Oh, we went over. So type. We have 38 creatures. Let's remove 7 creatures. Go to grid. Because I like Dino DNA. I like all my ramp. That's greatest power. Well, we do have a lot of creatures. I like all this cheap stuff we have, so let's start at the top. Galta's good. This thing bouncing non-dinosaurs is hilarious. I still like that. That coming out that late. Oh, that's right, but it also makes a copy of itself. We're gonna dump the Rampaging Brontodon. We're gonna dump this thing because the only reason why I liked it is that it had island cycling. So now we're down to 5. Displaced Dinosaurs, I still like. We're gonna dump the Trumpeting Carnosaur. We're gonna dump the Regal Behemoth. We're going to dump Myriad. We're going to get rid of Bonehead Dracosaur just because this is me we're talking about. And then we're going to double check because I wasn't keeping track. One more. Going down to 31 creatures. You know what, we're going to dump the Hammer Skull. Because while it doesn't stun itself, and it's a 6/6 for 3, it doesn't have enough going for it. So there we go. There was probably a better way to build this deck. Go back to stacks. Go back to categories. And private to unlisted. And we're just going to go, welcome to ... Temur Park. Because I don't have anything else to say here. Dinosaurs go burr, really. So now we go into the last one, which is another Doctor Who pair. I'm going to pour myself more water. Ginny Flint is Owen and Blue Red for partners with Madame Vastra. Excuse me. And also pardon me that my nose is stuffy. Has First Strike and Training, which Training is the... I don't know if I want to call it the reverse of Mentor or the inverse of Mentor. But where Mentor puts counters on smaller things when it attacks, Training puts +1/+1 counters on itself when it attacks at the same time as something that is bigger than itself. And I'm not looking at the screen because I'm making sure I don't spill water as I decant water from a big jug into a smaller bottle. But whenever you sacrifice a food or a clue or food, you put a +1/+1 counter on a different target creature you control, which is very interesting. So it makes other creatures bigger so you can still get training out of it. And then Madame Vastra is 2 green-blue for a 3/3 lizard detective. Did I mention to say that this was a 2 human detective? Partners with Jenny Flint. And Madame Vastra must be blocked if able. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Madame Vastra this turn dies, create a clue token and a food token. So that is neat as heck. And then we have 16 pieces of ramp, which is interesting, so we'll have to go through that. We have our 37 lands. And we have the same removal as you would expect, because I just copy-pasted them. And then I think... Oh, it's because I put in a bunch of Doctor Who cards. Adding some Mio to my water. That should be enough. You don't need much, I learned. Put the lid back on. Turn it upside down once to make sure everything turns orange. If I had a camera, I'd show you, because this interests me. And it reminds me of an episode of one of them shows where a guy has a bunch of maids. I don't remember if it's maid versus butler or a different one. Or maybe he was a butler. But it was basically drinking tea. Like doing an indirect kiss. Because Japanese is weird about that. Ugh, and I don't like drinking out of stuff other people drink out. But anyway, he was in his imagination, the tea was the different women, and one of them was like, "I'm staining you with my color," because that's how tea works. Sorry, that. Anyway, so that's why lightning greaves are in here, and it's the Doctor Who version. And then that's probably also a Doctor Who Soul Ring, Arcane Signet. And the 3 visits is Doctor Who. And why there's a Thought Vessel in here. And all the talismans. The signets are not. Oh, and that's why there's a Mind Stone in here as well. And then the 500-year diary, because it's a clue. And then you also get blue mana for your clues. Hold on. Had to clear my throat and thought that would be too gross for the recording. Even though I cough in a lot of my recordings, but whatever. So what do we want to put in this deck? Well, we're going to finish off our protection series. It's tempting to make Madame Vastra unblockable, but we want her to be blocked. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to equipment. T equipment. O in destruct. So we're going to pay the extra mana for Darksteel Plate. Oh, the Hammer of Nazan makes the creature indestructible. And also auto-equip stuff. We also want the Mithril Coat. But also like Shadow Spear if we're going to be doing equipment stuff. Since we can remove Hexproof and Indestructible from our opponent's things. That is a thing that I don't put into a lot of decks, but I like. Also has Lifelink. And gives Lifelink and Trample. That doesn't hurt. Since we do want Madame Vastra to does she have a native first strike? No, we're gonna want to do that for her too. We're gonna be greedy with Cauldron Complete, even though it has an equip cost of 7. But if we get the hammer out first, that's an equip cost of 0 at least once. And then Death, because we also want Death Touch, because if she has to be blocked, hoi, we want Basilisk Collar, and Gorgon's Head is hilarious. I mean, she's not a Gorgon, she's a lizard, but like close enough. Oh, Mirror Shield, just in case they have Death Touch. And we're just going to call this Gear, just to make it its own category. And then select everything in here and just move it all over to Gear. There we go with that. 9 pieces of gear. The part of me wants me to add one more just to make it an even 10, but we'll come back to this later. Just constantly moving my butt around. But we want the Academy Manufactor, so that when we create our clue and our food, we get another food or clue and a treasure. And then because of Jenny Flint, we're going to want other things that create food and clues. We're also going to want a whole bunch of other creatures. We only have 2 in the deck right now. Nope, 3. Forgot about that Manufactor. But he's a 1/3, so he ain't going to be doing a whole lot. Oh, we have fewer basics in this one because I just did the 2 different arts from Doctor Who, so that's interesting. Oh, it means I put in I put in these ones so I can scry. Fair enough. Yeah, I put in a lot of Doctor Who lands and then just fancied up the other lands. I don't know if I have in... I have the cycling lands. I don't know if I have in... there's the reflecting pool. I don't think I have... Oh, nope, I have the surveil lands in here too. Okay. And then I have an exotic orchard. In addition to the reflecting pool. Okay, I see all that I did. So let's go T creature, because I am at the point where I want to put in more creatures. Then O clue, or O food, or let's capitalize that to make me feel better. Or O, investigate. Since investigate also makes clues. Order CMC. So the Floodhound can investigate for 3. The Gilded Goose can make foods, and also uses the foods for mana, so I like that. I should have put T clue just to see what other items are clues. If I still have room later, we'll go into that. This has disguise, and then if you turn it face up, you investigate whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player if they do it that turn. When she attacks, you investigate, and then you can transform her when you draw your 3rd card in a turn. You can -3 to get a sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, and then if it's green, you add 1 mana of any color. That basically gets our ramp back, but you have to do the +2 first, which is fine because it's pseudo protection because it's only -1/-0 until end of turn. That is interesting because it's a flying 0/3 that people might just let you attack with. And again, it makes clue tokens that our commanders, that one of our commanders cares a lot about. That creates a food token on entry. That's not important enough. Curious Pair creates a food token as its adventure. When you sacrifice a clue, this thing transforms. And then when it has prowess, which may or may not matter. And then when it deals combat damage to a player, you can investigate. That is interesting. Not sure how much I care about that. This doubles investigations, but this isn't. But our commanders don't investigate, so I'm not too concerned about that. That collects evidence, which I'm not too interested about. This devours food, which not really. Although things weaker than it can't block it, but I think we're going to skip that. This steals stuff. When this thing attacks alone, you get a food token. If this thing investigates, if it gets really burked. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you get a food. That's interesting, but I don't know how much of that we're going to be doing. I'm actually thinking about it, like, because it could combo with something else that might end up in the deck, because Professional Facebreaker makes treasures, and then you can use those treasures to exile the top card of your deck to play that turn. Flying investigates on entry. And then when you sacrifice an artifact, it gets +1/+1 counter. That sounds like removal bait, which I don't think is a bad idea to have. Second spell, investigate. All of this making a counter. Oh no, the thing both of the things I was thinking about are white. And this deck doesn't have white in it. I was thinking of, was it Mini Brax, that you draw a card if you created a token. Oh, but that also reminds me of something else. Idol of Oblivion. You get to draw a card if you created a token, and we kind of want to create tokens in this deck. Hoping that's aspirational. Oh, Goose Mother is good. Enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, right? And then half of that gets to be food, so it brings food with it. And then you can sacrifice food to draw a card when it attacks, and it has flying, so that's fine. That cares about attacking or blocking alone. This is a food that creates more food. But it also turns non-creature artifacts into 4/4s. I kind of like all of that. Huh. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, untap target creature, then investigate. I'm down for that. I mean, we have green, so hopefully we'll be double spelling. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, that boy, the thing I was thinking was way ridiculous. But the activated abilities cost 1 less to activate. So that means you can sacrifice clues for 1, food for 1, right? Yep. So that's good. Sorry, I'm moving my desk around again. What is... Oh, Ignis. This is from Final Fantasy, so this is some new stuff. Whenever he enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You move a land card onto the battlefield tapped, rest on the bottom. And then... Oh, exile cards from a graveyard. If it's a creature, you create a food. But it costs 3, so I'm not too impressed with that. Can't be blocked except by artifact creatures. That's interesting. This makes stuff unblockable if you have sacrificed a clue. Investigate. Oh, Peregrine Took, of course, because we're gonna... I'm going to avoid, what was it? Parallel Lives. Just because I can. And it makes me feel good to avoid it, even though I've probably put it in a bunch of other decks. I've just decided this episode to do that. Ethereal Investigator enters, you investigate for each opponent you have at the time. And then second spells gets you gets spirits with flying. Put a pin in that, we'll come back to it. Oh, different doctors, that's right. Once during each of your turns, you may play a historic land or cast a source spell from the top of your library. If you do, you create a food. Remember, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. Okay. This gets +1/+1 for each non-creature token you control, and it has trample. And then it can create a clue, a food, or a treasure. I like that they're in the deck, but they're not the commander of the deck. Because it makes it Jenny and Vrasta's story, and they're just cameoing. Enters or attacks, you can put a +1/+1 counter, or create a food, or create a treasure. And she has a 4/4, so that's... Nothing to sneeze on. Oh, I guess we're also avoiding hardened scales and branching out evolution and all that stuff as well. Artifacts to control are clues in addition to their other types and have the clue effect. It's interesting, but we're not going to do that. Oh, Fugitive Doctor. Ah, that gives stuff flashback. Okay. Investigates twice. That creates 3 foods. That creates a food. Okay, so we're at the end. At the beginning of each combat, other clues you control become 6/6 plant creatures into their other types until end of turn. That sounds like a fun finisher if we have an abundance of clues. So all of that was neat. I'm kind of just double checking to see if there's anything I'm changing my mind on. What does the Gadgeteer do? Oh yeah, artifact spells, which we do. Okay, we do have quite a number of artifact spells. But also it makes our food and clues cheaper to activate. Peregrine Took makes additional foods. And we can also sacrifice foods to draw cards. That's also kind of important. Gleaming Gear Drake is there just to eat removal or just to be a big flying threat at some point in time. What are we at? We are at 90 already. Type 14 creatures. So 10 more creatures. Just creatures. Oh yeah. T creature. Actually, wait. T. Let's see what kind of things are just food. Oh yeah, the meal ender. Whenever another artifact controls, I don't remember if that counts for tokens. Red herring is just funny. And then we have parcel mirror. We have the good old ginger brute that nobody hates. Vegetation abomination rolls a dice, but it's the only thing that's rolling the dice. Death touch doesn't hurt either. So it's a food with a variable amount of life gain from 1 to 6 instead of just a standard 3. Like, I'm tempted to put all of these not great cards in this deck just because they amuse me. Oh, she is also a food. Do tokens trigger Surginger. I could have swore it didn't count for things like Descend, but maybe that was just Arena being weird. There we go. All of these bad cards are going to this deck because it amuses me. That's literally the only reason all of these cards are going in here. And that put us up to 95. So five more creatures. I don't, and I already oh token. Whoops. I hit full screen. Nope. There we go. It was F11. Created or affinity. Like, see this where we are kind of avoiding this. That steals token creations. Did I spell affinity incorrectly? Oh, this makes Thopters. Oh, this creates frogs. Like, those frogs aren't also artifacts, but don't care. She captures and eats the frogs. Do not care. So now we're down to 3. This is mildly tempting just because it's a creature and not just an artifact that does nothing on its own. Did I spell affinity incorrectly? Oh, there's 2 F's in affinity. So that has affinity for humans, but this has affinity for tokens. Whenever a token enters the battlefield under your control, tap target non-land permanent opponent controls. It doesn't, and then it doesn't untap. This was pre-stun counter. So yes, we're gonna put that in. So the thing that puts us at 98. Yep. Last refuge of someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Tireless tracker, yeah, and then they want us to steal stuff. We dodged the landfall. Oh, whenever Piper Wright deals combat damage to a player, investigate that many times. Yes. Oh, and then tokens you control tap for green. Unless I see something else, that will be the last 2. And then I think we had a bunch of. Did we? No, we didn't do any unblockable stuff. Whenever you sacrifice. Oh, the crime novelist is actually kind of interesting. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, because if this and that other thing is in our the one that reduces the cost of artifact activations, we can basically, for the cost of 1 input mana, sacrifice all of our clues and all of our foods. So we're going to have to do some cuts because I do like the idea of that. Martha Jones just became more interesting with the idea of something that we want to have unblockable, but I think we're still going to dodge that. Oh, Danny Pink has Mentor. Oh, whenever... Yeah, this is the other part where when we put counters on stuff, we can draw a card. But I think we're leaving it to our clues to draw cards, if I'm being fair. No maximum hand size. And then draw... Oh, yeah, no, I see where these both are coming from. And they're, you know, on flavor for being Doctor Who cards. Helena makes Vastra bigger. I can see why you'd want that. Strax... No, I don't like the random. Oh, tap 2 untapped artifacts. You control to draw a card. X. But he costs 6. I know we're in green. Of course, Urza's on the list for if people want to be. And of course, the Kodama that gives modified creatures trample. 2 pieces of ramp that I didn't put into this deck, but was on 2 other ones. Displaced dinosaurs is just funny. Marhalt Eldragon is cool because when Vastra becomes blocked because she has to be, she gets +3/+3 until end of turn for each creature blocking it. Good old Marhalt Eldragon. Okay, so now we're at 102. So we need to remove 2 things. I could remove these silly foods that are bad and dumb, but I'm going to go in a different direction. I have 20 pieces of ramp. I could get rid of the Gilded Goose because I don't need it. And I think I'm going to get rid of my removal bait and just tell people to bring it. Oh, and our color spread has a lot more blue in it than the other 2 ended up with. I like what we ended up with. I like that we have a couple of doctors from way before when Jenny and Vastra were introduced cameoing, and we did a couple of... Did we get a couple of other Doctor Who characters in here somewhere? We might not have. I think I skipped over... yeah, I think I skipped over both of the forecasting cost ones. So we just... There might be another one in here that I don't remember, and I don't really feel like going too deep into the weeds. So... Draw cards, gain life. That's all I have to say. There we go. Do that. Look at the time. We're at 1:43, so I might not make another deck, but I still want to look at the non-partner commanders in this color combination just to kind of go over why I have a hard time with Temur. Like, we made 3 decks and 2 of them were partners. So we have Animar that made it into our first deck. In fact, if Eshki didn't exist, like if I'd started this series well before Dragonstorm came out, Animar would have been the first deck. If my 25th week had been before Dragonstorm. Animar would have been the first deck, because and even then, this isn't exactly inspiring. But this ridiculous amount of ramp in the command zone is funny. Averna would have been a deck. And then it just would have been all of the best Cascade cards. In fact, if I felt we had time, we could do that. But like, you don't need to tell me. You don't need to tell me. You don't need me to tell you what the best Cascade cards are. You just look at the. I mean, you at this point you put in bad Cascade cards. Because it doesn't even say basic land. You just get a land. And then this is the Temur Adventures deck. And even with 2 sets with adventures in them, I'm not too impressed by that. If I wanted an adventures deck, I'd want all of the colors that had dragon in it, or not dragon, giants in it. So this is missing at least white, because I don't think there were any giants in black. And then, because the white giant, because it has the realm cloaked one, that destroys all non-giants. And then we have Borborygmos and Fibblethip. That when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you draw a card. Then you may discard any number of land cards. When you discard one or more cards this way, this creature deals twice that much damage to target creature, which is fine. And then you can put Borborygmos back into your library, 3rd from the top, if you felt like it. Not impressed. Then we have another Dragonstorm commander. We have Eshki's other form, which has Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 1. And has enough power to trigger the Eshki that we used. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast both a creature and a non-creature, you draw a card and you put 2 +1/+1 counters on this. That is a not what I feel like doing kind of thing. Then we have Eshki that we built and that I like. Then we have Flubs, which is kind of in my wheelhouse of not being able to keep cards in my hand. You can play additional lands on your turn. That's cool. And then whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card if you have no cards in hand. Otherwise, discard a card. You know me, I don't like discarding cards. And I'm not good enough to make this good. Then we have Gimbal, Gremlin Prodigy. This is a cool one. Artifact creatures you control have trample. That's sweet. And then at the beginning of your end step, create a 0/0 red Gremlin artifact creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. So that's kind of that's just a neat thing, and you've probably seen other people build a better version of that. But you know, you basically kind of want to just put as many differently named token generators in your deck and kind of just hope for the best. Then we have Temur Mutate. Then we have this thing that can do stuff if you pay extra. I don't like these dragons. Then we have the Maelstrom Wanderer, which is more Cascade stuff. It would go in the Averna deck, because I think I'd rather have Averna as the commander than Maelstrom Wanderer. But it cascades twice. Then we have Loot. That's cool because it's the dark ritual where it probably should have been the whole time. Like if you were to, here's a question: if you were to redo the boon cycle, what would you do? Like the draw 3 cards is definitely way too powerful. I think Lightning Bolt is fine. I'm one of the few people who forgives Healing Salve. Like, it at the time, I think it was good, because it exactly countered Lightning Bolt. Because you could either gain 3 life or prevent 3 damage. At the time, even if it was very specific, it was a 1-for-1 same mana cost counter to either Lightning Bolt or Giant Growth. It just, out of all of them, had the least longevity, since dealing damage is always relevant, but gaining life doesn't feel useful, especially with alternate win conditions, or when stuff can deal so much damage that 3 life doesn't matter at the end of the day. But at the time, I think it was good. Then we have different loot that I still don't care about. Then we have Lara Croft, where you can, where if you care about legendary artifacts and lands, that could be a neat deck. So if I were to build more decks, like the Mardu week, I could have built so many more decks, so there were so many good Mardu commanders, but that's neither here nor there. But Lara Croft, Averna, sort of, and Gimbal would be on a short list if I were making more. Calamax, if I was doing Temur Spellslinger, I guess that's where I'd want to go. Then we have Magus Lucia Kane from the Warhammer 40k. I refuse to call it 40,000. Just using the least number of darn it, things you say words with. Oh man, now this is gonna bother me. This is a word I use and know a lot. We're taking a side trip to learn stuff. No. Syllables? Is that what I'm thinking of? Yes. I say 40k instead of 40,000 because k is 1 syllable and 1,000 is at least 2. There. Good lord. Me the Immortal is another neat one, because as long as she doesn't go into your hand or library, she keeps all of these counters. That's not very inspiring, and you can also cast from your graveyard by discarding stuff. That's neat. Also, the actress who plays her is aggressively pretty. Not important, but still felt like saying it. And then Dragon Nonsense, and then Baloney Omnath. Not the most Baloney Omnath, but... And then, a neat energy commander. Storm for more spell slinging. Saheeli, and these are from the same commander deck, I think. And they're both pretty cool. Pay money to get tokens and copy spells. That's neat, but no. A lot of modal spells are kind of garbage. Like, all the good ones don't fill up a deck. Rashmi and Ravagan, just not interesting to me. This made it into another deck, but I wouldn't have it commander. Swarmlord is Tyranids, So I'd like, this is one of those things where I would just play the precon and not really upgrade it too much. And then we have these two things. This because of its casting cost will probably just go in Miriam's. Another land stuff. Xeris. You get snakes when your opponents are greedy about drawing cards. But the snakes don't even have death touch. They're weak snakes. And then you can make your opponents draw cards. So, like, there's some neat stuff in here, but nothing that was as interesting to me as what I made. Like I said, if I were going to do another episode of this, it would probably be Averna, even though you don't need me to tell you how to build Cascade. Gimbal, even though, again, you probably don't need me to tell you what to put all the different... Because at some point you would just put garbage in the deck just because it made a different named token. Like, and that's fun and cool, but not strong. And then Lara Croft, because she's neat. And yeah, you just kind of have to make her, you kind of have to Voltron her a bit. Honestly, if I were to build this deck, it would be with a lot of the Universes Beyond stuff, like all of their neat legendary artifacts. Like that Welcome Jurassic Park would come in here. I'd probably also do Displaced Dinosaurs because that's silly as heck. I used up time. We're almost at 2 hours, and I don't want to go that far over it. But yeah, after I'm done with this 32 deck challenge, I'm probably going to revisit Lara Croft because that does sound like something that would be fun. Anyway, whoops, that is not the window I meant to go to. I'm going to close this down. I am going to delete this deck because I'm not actually going to build it. I did put in my ramp, mass destruction, and removal from it. Actually, you know what? No, I might keep this. I'll keep this, and I'm going to put Lara Croft as the commander, and then I'm just going to store it away for the future. That is my promise to try to make a Lara Croft deck in the future. Next week is minus white, because that's the order that I'm doing them in. Even though I have a feeling if I were to order this by color, well, first it would put colorless at the top, which is funny to me, but it would probably go minus green, then minus red, then minus white, then minus blue, then minus black. That's just my guess. I'm not gonna test it, but yeah, we are near the end. That's some bonus minus blue content. Yeah, we only have 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 7. We are down to 7. See you next week for not putting white in the deck, which is funny because we've been doing that for weeks. See you then.